Now, you may recognize him from DRB LasGidi, but he's holding it down on his own as BOJ, leader of the new school. Welcome to another episode of Boom Convo on Boom Play. Yo man, how you doing? Good to have you on the show.
What's happening, man?
What's up? Have you been? What are you up to?
I've just been making music, man. It's mostly what I do.
As usual.
I've been doing a couple of things in the UK as well. Man, I'm just trying to get all my stuff in order, basically.
Right, that's cool. So, speaking about making music, let's talk about your album, Bagada Express. Now, the name of the album is pretty unique. It's not something you hear all the time. So, could you talk to us about the inspiration behind naming the album Bagada Express?
So Bagada Express, basically, in the lockdown, I spent a lot of time at home. I live in Bagada.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of time by myself, and I had planned to start working on an album in 2020. So I was confined to the walls of my house and to Bagada, basically. And I also grew up in Bagada. Like, my parents live in Bagada. I went to school in Bagada. So there's a main road called Bagada Express.
Yeah.
And basically, like I said, based on the fact that I was at home during lockdown in Bagada, I was like expressing myself in Bagada. So I was just like, yes, this is me expressing myself in Bagada. And it just turns out that there's that road as well. So everything just kind of comes together. And also with my history of obviously growing up in Bagada as well, I just felt like everything just makes sense to just call it that.
So basically, in that period, you were very conscious of your environment,
Exactly.
And it just felt right to name the project
Exactly.
after that. That's really cool. Very, very creative, I must add. So now, you've also talked about how a lot of your music comes from personal experiences and your relationships with your friends. So in what way is Bagada Express inspired by your personal experiences?
I think more than ever with this album, I was more vulnerable and actually explaining like my feelings, explain how I feel about different things, apart from just love, which is mostly what I do. I'm talking about like life experiences, friendships, like you said, how people may change based on whatever situation you're in, all those kinds of things, money, just things like that, mental health, just those are different things. And those are all things I touched on in this album.
Wow, that's really cool. So when you released the track list, right, it had so many people talking, but one thing that caught my attention was the number of features on the album.
Yeah.
So now I actually took a count, and there are 14 features with about 20 artists on the song. So I really need to know, how are you able to get that many artists on one album?
Most of the artists on the album, in fact, all the artists on the album are people I have personal relationships with. So, and people that I'm fans of.
Yeah.
And like getting them into the studio isn't such a big deal, isn't so hard, and there are people I've always either had worked on a bunch of songs with or had always wanted to work with. So yeah, reaching out to them wasn't that difficult. Them sending back their verses wasn't that difficult either. Anyone that knows me or has been watching me or following my journey, you know that I come from a collaborative background, like you said, DRB, and I like collaborating. That's one thing I like doing. I like collaborating. I like collaborating with female artists. I like collaborating with my Ghanaian brothers and sisters as well, because I go there quite often. Also in the UK as well, I like doing UK collaboration. So yeah, man.
That's nice. So now, you released up to 2 singles off the album so far: Culture, In a Loop,
Money and Laughter, Abracadabra.
So now, in the process of recording this album, I'm pretty sure there were things you experienced, there were things that might have got you frustrated, or things that might have made you feel very hopeful for the project. But I really want to know the one thing that you love and remember the most in the entire process of creating Bagada Express.
I think, funny enough, the time I did a camp in just like when they started giving us a curfew.
Yeah.
When they said we can now go out and whatever. So now during that period, I did a camp where a whole bunch of guys, like, you could tell that everyone had been itching to just get out,
Do something.
do you understand, and just have human interaction again. So I think that particular period, because that's when we found Victoni, Diverse, some young producers like Johnson IP, Trill. So, and yeah, man, it was just like, just a mad experience, just having that many creative people under one roof. That was also where CK and Issa actually met at that camp. Like,
wow.
That's where their working relationship started as well. That's where the whole collaboration with CK and Davido came from. Just things like
benefits
that.
of doing stuff
you get
like
what
this.
I'm saying? Just things like that. I'm pretty sure Buju and Diverse met there as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so just things like that. It's just like interesting to see and to be able to create that kind of environment for creative.
Must have been big and really impactful.
Yeah.
And I guess everyone is grateful to you for creating, such a moment and an arrangement for people to just come together and work
And it's
together.
like, in the moment, it's not something that you're doing intentionally.
Right.
It's just something like, yeah, let's just vibe, let's just do. And then you never know what can come out of it. So yeah.
So now, in the past, you've talked about the moment you began to get clarity, right? And this, you said, was after the release of Gbagada in 2011. So from that moment to now, what are the things you've seen? What are the things you've learned?
Well, I've seen plenty of things. So, like, I've been in the industry for quite a while, and I played the long game, which is the gradual process. I never had the resources financially or anything like that to really support my dreams at that level. So I had to just do it like step by step. So along the way, I learned that, like, being resilient, believing in yourself, because another thing that happened when I first moved back was everywhere I went was them telling me that this music won't work here. Do you understand? This style or whatever, you have to change it, you have to this, you have to that. And it's just funny because of the way there's been like a culture shift now, and it feels like everything has been turned upside down, and it's almost like the popular culture is now the weird culture. It's like weird, so it's like crazy to see and crazy to have been there when it started and to see where it's getting to now and where it's going, so those are all interesting things to see. I've learned a whole bunch of things.
That makes a whole lot of sense. And as a fan myself, I can promise you that I look forward to listening to the album. I mean, particularly the song you did with Tiwa Savage, the one with Whiskey. I mean, it's a loaded album. I really want to listen to everything. And I do hope that at the moment of its release, everyone is just going to be positive as usual to this body of work. So thank you for having this chat with me, and it's been nice talking with you.
Thank you.
Things within my mind, this world cannot contain, yeah.